Hey guys, our game Chaos Zero Nightmare just died off, unfortunately. We got the announcement on their recent livestream concerning the roadmap. And they announced that they will not only buff Yuki, which would be a character, no, they're gonna go completely overboard with all of this. I will just let this clip play and then we can talk about this more a little bit afterwards. Here you can see already that for starters, we will be adjusting unpopular epiphanies and common cards. They will not just, you will see this when I play the clip, they do not just adjust numbers, they will do complete reworks of everything, of epiphanies, common cards, etc. Here, hear this out.
채택률이 낮았던 번뜩임과 공용 카드의 개선이 진행됩니다. 단순히 수치를 올리는 것뿐 아니라 매력이 부족했던 일부 번뜩임 빌드의 구조적인 개선도 함께 진행됩니다. 오늘 이 자리에서 조정사항들의 일부 방향성을 말씀드리고자 합니다. 첫 번째로 컨트롤러 전투원들의 치유 기능.
Here, right as I said, they do not just adjust numbers, they rework everything. They go so hardcore Titanic that they even rework entire mechanics, not just any mechanics. They rework how every single heal in this game functions moving forward.
기능의 일부 상향 조정이 이루어집니다. 이 조정 대상으로는 리아, 레이.
They do not just slightly buff Yuki, right? They adjust multiple characters. They adjust an entire role. The entirety of the mechanic heal will be completely reworked. Let this sink in. Think about it for a second. I will, as I said, let's listen a little bit further and then talk about it.
오를레아, 카시우스가 포함되어 있습니다. 둘째, 사전에 안내드렸던 유키를 포함해 활용도가 낮은 빌드와 일부 카드 역시 상향 조정됩니다. 셋째, 역시 사전에 안내드렸던 일부 파트너들의 패시브도
Partners will be completely reworked. Not just the numbers, not just the stats, right? Emphasis on it. Their passive effects, they will be completely reworked.
상향 조정됩니다. 넷째, 게임의 장기적 관점에서 일부 전투원들의 리워크가 진행됩니다. 리워크 대상으로는 카시우스와 트리사가 포함되어 있습니다.
Tressa as well. You have invested tons and tons of overpriced resources into Tressa, right? Because she's an overpowered character that everyone and their mom should use. You have spent like almost a month, as it is for every single character in the game, to max Tressa out, huh? Guess what? Get butt-fucked in Season 2 because Tressa will be completely useless garbage. Congratulations.
해당 조정에 있어 저희는
And that's it. So yeah, let's talk about this a little bit further and let me explain one more time why this is something that is like you could even make an argument for this is the only thing that you cannot under any circumstances do if you are in charge of a gacha game. I explained this already multiple times in the past in the deepest detail possible, but let me tell you one more time why balance adjustments cannot happen in gacha games. That is very, very simple. You know how the sayings go of you bought a cat in a sack or you bought the pig in a pork. In other words, you paid money for something and you don't know what you're gonna get. It is actually even worse. You think you purchase a certain product, but you do not receive the product that you paid for. To make this even clearer, you got scammed. Why, right? Because look, if a character comes out, you will have to pull for every single character that comes out now, because you can never go by your judgment and by your knowledge of how this character will be formed. You cannot spend your resources for trash, right? But trash has to come out. Because the free-to-play players, they need these trash characters so that they are able to save up their resources to skip something. As a free-to-play player or even as a low spender, you do not have the resources available to yourself to pull on every single character. Therefore, bad characters like Yuki that are skippable, they have to come out. So your free-to-play player base can maintain like their account and they can stay up to date with the actual metagame and not fall behind. Now, if you buff on nerf characters, this logic is completely thrown out of the window and everything becomes RNG, because look, you have to pull for everything. You cannot skip. If you skip everything that you would now skip, you would take a tremendous risk on missing out on an overpowered character. So even if you have the judgment of, oh, this character is not that good, I'm gonna skip that to save up my resources, then this character might actually be the best character in the game a week or two later. So you see what I mean. Or let's say you pull for the character because it seems overpowered, but a week or two later, this is F tier unplayable garbage. So see, you purchased something that you think you purchased some S tier correct character that is overpowered, but in reality then 1 or 2 days later this product completely changes into F tier unplayable garbage and you will not be happy with your spending, right? This exact same thing already happened with Yuki. People spent their resources, they spent their money, they pulled for Yuki and then cried out loud and did go completely berserk because they are brain dead morons that do not understand how a gacha genre works and that are characters that you should skip. So they went ahead, they spent, and then they cry out so hardcore loud that the developers changed their philosophy of never buffing a character ever again, because they killed their previous game, Epic 7, with this kind of shit already. And now they are repeating their mistakes. Look, if they just would have adjusted Yuki a tiny little bit to calm these people down, that would have been no problem. But with what they announced now in their live stream here, as I said, they go completely Titanic, and the free-to-play players will now have to pull on every single character. That will be impossible. In the very near future, the free-to-play players, or even the low spenders as well, they will realize they will be left behind. They will get mad because they missed out on a character that is completely busted right now, and they pulled for something that they judged as being very, very good, and then this very, very good thing gets nerfed into the ground. It will lead to more frustration than anything else whatever, and the game is not sustainable. These free-to-play players, they will quit. The player base will deteriorate, and then the whales that are fine with all of these changes and like them because it leads to variety, they won't have their player base anymore. They're cheaps that they can flex their wallet onto, and then they will leave and they will go to another gacha game that has the player base that likes to be wallet slapped. Or a better saying would be that has the community where they can slap people with their wallet and then they can flex their inflated numbers and all that stuff. I think you know how this kind of thing goes. And that is why the game is absolutely dead. There is of course a little bit more. I could talk a little bit more. Yeah, why not? It's gonna be my last video for Chaos Zero Nightmare. Anyways, I've already uninstalled the game. So why not keep yapping a little bit? Their philosophy, I explained this as well in the deepest detail possible in my very last video, if I'm not mistaken, that they would have to change their philosophy, their way of thinking of what a season actually needs to be. Because what they did, right, they put a season from like Diablo, from an ARPG like Diablo 4 or like Path of Exile 2, like Last Epoch, right? ARPGs. They one-to-one copied the seasonal system from these games into their gacha game. Of course, that is not gonna work. I explained in my last video that the reason why a season like that works in an ARPG is because an ARPG has like tremendous balance changes that switch up everything that is meta. Different characters are no good, different builds are no good, completely different playstyles emerge from this, and this is what keeps the game fresh. Now, in a gacha game, I just explained to you why you cannot under any circumstances do that, and that's why copying a season from one genre into another doesn't work, right? You cannot just rebalance your characters, rework your characters, because of what I just said. You have your customers, you have your players not just forced to pull for every single character, but to purchase the cats and the sex and so on and so forth. And that is unacceptable. You literally scam your entire player base by selling them something that they don't know what, like, no one knows what you even sell them. They buy complete RNG. And yeah, of course, that is not going to be sustainable. This game is dead, right? It's already dead, and it will take some time for the people to realize this, but trust me, the player base will deteriorate, and this game will not be sustainable. And therefore, that's it about the video, guys. I will say goodbye to Chaos Zero Nightmare, and I have already uninstalled the game. If you were here on this channel because you wanted to see more Chaos Zero Nightmare, then yeah, sorry to disappoint, but I'm not gonna play this trash any longer. Bye.